Okay, so I've got to re-tie my Wacky Rig, and if you watch, you know I throw a lot of Wacky Rig, and this one of course is super bent, right? So I'm gonna trim it off. I'm gonna cut this hook off, and then I'm gonna kind of show you how I set it up, and that way you can learn to fish it. And I'll even tell you my big secrets to the Wacky Rig. All right. Alright, so I'm going to use this 1/8 Wacky jig from VMC. Alright, real easy. And I'll either use a 1/8 or 1/16, just depending on, you know, what I like. And this is just, I like a little weight so I can skip it a little bit better. Okay, so how I have this set up is I've got braided line ran to a fluorocarbon Brazix leader is what it is, and it's about 18 inches give or take. When I trim some off, whatever, I usually start anywhere from 24 to 18 inches. Put my little leader on here. Use this, it's an Albright knot. I caught a huge fish on this earlier, so my knot held, so that was always good. But just for insurance, I put a dab of glue on it, super glue or Gorilla Glue, whichever one you want, just to tighten that up a little bit so it won't break. And then when I'm looking at my leader, I'm just running my finger across it, see if I got any spots on it that are rough. I don't. So then I'm just going to tie a Palomar knot on this jig head through the hole, back around, back through. You have to excuse me, my hands shake a lot. I got nerve damage, so I have a shaky hand. But if you need something shook up, I'm your guy. Alright, so back through, back around, through, over, and back around. Wetting it, grab your tab, pull through, Palomar knot's tied. I'm just going to lock it down good. And then a little overhand knot just to make sure. And that's it. That's the only knot I'm using. I'm so glad that train went by. It goes by here about every 5 minutes. But there you go. I'll trim this tab. Put my little tab over here in my little bin. There we go. We're ready to fish. Now, the next thing I do to rig mine is, I don't have a VMC sponsorship, but I guess I should. All right, and then what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna use these VMC crossover rings. It's a 7mm. There's 10 of them in a pack. Bass Pro Shop. There you go. Get you some. And then I'm gonna use, ooh, dropped it. Then I'm going to take that. Then I'm going to use these VMC crossover pliers, is what it's called. Right? Put your little ring on there. Drop your worm in. Slide your worm off, and then you're rigged. And you just simply take your hook. And on the little crossover ring itself, you can rig it this way through here if you wanted it up and down for a presentation. But for the Wacky Rig, of course, you're going to go across it. There's a little hole there for a little channel for your hook to go through. And we're Wacky Rigged. Now, here's the secret sauce. It's not really a secret, but if you fish with me, you'll know. I'm going to use purple worm, Gary Yamamoto purple worm, and some bait fuel. I'll just soak them in bait fuel before I even use them. As soon as I buy them, I open it up, put bait fuel in, and then we're off and running, ready to sling this under there. This is my second worm of the day, so not going through a lot. You don't usually when you're using these crossover rings from VMC, but so there you go. A little tip from me to you. Learning the Wacky Rig, you can pick it apart, and then I'll show you what I do. So out here under this tree, let's say, all right, fishing the Wacky Rig is not that complicated. Find fish that any old idiot can do it. Just throw it out there, and then what you're going to do is watch it. All right, and that's why I use the braided line. So you can see the braided line on top of the water, and it should be moving unless it sank, which it has. So then what I do is just reel it up, drag it a little bit, and then let it sink and fall. It's a little shallow over there under that tree, but that's the idea. You pull it up, let it sink, and then you just watch your line. If you see any weird movement in your line, or your line takes off, that means there's a fish. Just pull, set the hook, you're on like Donkey Kong. Right? But the key on it for me, what I like most about the Wacky Rig, is it's very versatile around what you can fish it around. You can skip it under trees, docks, boats, whatever. You know, you can bounce it under rocks, anything. You can throw it around grass, anything you want to throw it around. That's what makes it so good, and you can pick a lot of water apart with a Wacky Rig. You can throw it off of a drop-off, anything, right? Fish it around trees that are down. Trees in the water are that's its bread and butter. You just kind of throw it in, and as it falls, it wobbles. That's what makes it a Wacky Rig. And as it falls, it wobbles and makes funky vibration, and the fish seem to like it, and that's what brings them in. And so it's not complicated. You just want to skip it under there, let it sink, and just watch your line. And you can throw it in any depth of water you want. Anywhere you find some structure, you can throw it in there. For me, there's structure right over here to my right. There's a tree down in that water, so you can just throw it out there. About right there, there's a tree underneath. You can drop it off and just watch your line. It'll go moving across the water. Right. And there you go. It's at the bottom. You're like, catch no fish. Just lift it and then let it fall again. So you can cover a ton of water with it. And I mean, it works in just about any application. And that's what makes it so handy of a tool, the Wacky Rig, right? So we've got some grass up here. So one of the things you can do is you can, make sure that when you go to cast your Wacky Rig, you actually open the bail on your rod, so you don't just sling your Wacky Rig across the